that definitely sets McAllen apart.
Get your facts right.
Everything started going down for a little bit.
Still all cash, by the way. I shouldn't say this.
I'm Javier Villalobos, Mayor of McAllen, and I'm excited to welcome you to the McAllen Chamber of Commerce podcast series, Legendary Leadership. In this episode, I'm joined by former Mayor Jim Darling and County Judge Richard Cortez as we reflect on our leadership journeys, the issues we faced, and the achievements we have made. On behalf of the city of McAllen, I'm proud to celebrate the legacy of leadership that has guided our community. Let's get started.
Welcome to the McAllen Chamber of Commerce podcast. We're so excited to spend a little bit of time this afternoon with our legendary leaders, three of McAllen's greatest mayors. We're so excited to welcome Mayor Javier Villalobos and our ex-mayor Jim Darling, along with our county judge Richard Cortez. We're so excited to have you three gentlemen here. I am so grateful for your leadership. I have had the greatest privilege in my career to work under your leadership. And so thank you for being here. Talk to us a little bit about why you took that call to serve our community and some of your memories as you served as leader and as you're serving as our current mayor.
When I ran for mayor, it was the right time to do that. I had a stable marriage, a stable business. My kids had grown up, and I thought that at that time in my life, I thought I had gained the necessary and right experience to be able to bring value to the office.
And Liz, actually, it's great. First of all, thank you for inviting. It's great to be here with Judge Cortez, Mayor Darling, who to me have always been, I look up to them. So now being the mayor after them, it's wonderful. But you know what? I was always involved in different places, representing different cities as city attorney, Hidalgo, Progreso, San Benito, Crystal City, all those different things. When I became commissioner, I realized that, hey, McAllen is it. And we started doing it. So when the position was open for mayor, I thought, kind of like Jim, the experience we have, I think we know it. I think we can help and assist. And now as we sit there, as I'm doing this, it is amazing what we do. I love what we do, helping the people, the community, making sure that taxpayer money is spent properly, that we do everything correctly and right. And that's something that I'm very proud of our city of McAllen, that we always do. When Judge Cortez was there, when Mayor Darling was there, we never had issues. We never had issues, scandals about everything. We are a very stable city, and I am so proud to be part of it.
That's great.
Well, I was city attorney for 28 years, and so I'd been around politics all my life. And I was city attorney for other cities too, but McAllen was my main client. I was in-house and assistant city manager for a couple of years. So I took a job for money. I went to work for a hospital institution, and I got a call from the judge who just got to be mayor, and he said, "Why don't you run for city commission?" And I thought, I've been around politics all my life. The last thing I want to do is be a politician. I really wasn't interested. He said, "Don't worry, you won't get an opponent. You've been around here so long." And so, actually, I did get an opponent, and I won by 101 votes.
Hey, but you won, Jim.
I won. I ran again. I won by 41 votes the next time, so I gained in popularity. But I've always been interested in public service, and I really never was interested in elected office. But I really respected the judge and mayor. We were friends before and all those kind of things, and so he really talked. I wouldn't have done it. I never had any idea about doing it except for Judge Cortez.
But I gotta correct Jim about something. We're not politicians. We're public servants.
There you go. That's right.
Well, yeah, you're a politician for about 2 months. You are.
But that definitely sets McAllen apart, is that call for public service. And I know that it must be different looking in from the outside, because until you've sat in this seat, which you three are uniquely qualified to speak to, you really don't know. I know you were elected in 2005, Judge Cortez. What was that one thing that from the outside appeared differently than when you arrived?
Well, it's like Mayor Villalobos and Mayor Darling said. I mean, we're very proud of our community. We were really beneficiaries of our predecessors doing a very good job with the city. But McAllen was known as a shopping destination. When I took office, I was very blessed that, I had $225 million in the bank and no debt. I mean, an idiot could have been mayor at that time when I took over. But there was something McAllen needed, and McAllen needed to be a destination city more than just a shopping center. a shopping city. So we started looking at quality of life issues like our convention center, the library, another international bridge. We developed 17th Street, the entertainment district, we've tree ordinance. We did a lot of things really to try to be a destination city that it really has become now.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I remember Heart of the City. Remember that effort?
Heart of the City, yes.
It was a great effort. What about you, Jim? You were elected in 2013. Was there something, even though you served the city for so many years in different capacities, was there something that was different about actually sitting in the seat?
I think my 8 years was consumed with two deals. The first one was the immigration issue, and that was very unique. I remember I got a call from the city manager, said, we're getting ready to close the bus station. We had about a couple hundred people here, a lot more at the bus station, but they were using the facilities to shower and all that, and we still have about 50 of them. And I was out of town in Austin on city business, and I just said, well, don't make a story of it. I didn't know what that meant, but I meant, feed them, we'll talk about it in the morning, clean it up and all that. And that was the first start of that. And thank God for Sister Norma and Catholic Charities, but it was a really, there was nothing to go by. It was a brand new thing, and a lot of criticism on both sides, and et cetera. And then we had COVID. And so, I think it was a little different for me in the 8 years. Probably almost 3 or 4 years was tied up in things that weren't, like the judge said, making city better was really dealing with two things we never had dealt with before. So that was very challenging. Mm-hmm. I think we did a good job. We're still coping with it. If you look across the country, we probably did a better job than anybody across the country as far as the immigration issue problem.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're talking probably also about the issues that we have with COVID, because I think both of us shared some time with that. And it was difficult, but I think our city was well prepared to do what was necessary. And I think our leaders have, and I'm talking about the commission and our area, have done what they have to do. And I've always said it, as an elected official, you have to do or vote or do whatever you have to do at the time that it needs to be done. And we did. I remember, actually, Jim was mayor and I was a brand new commissioner, and they had the issue with the conditional use permit for Catholic Charities. Mm-hmm. There were so many people against it, but I remember I was a brand new commissioner. I said, you know what? People don't quite understand our position. We have to do what we have to do for public safety, to keep the immigrants safe, to keep our community safe. And we voted on it. And I remember I specifically said that. Yeah. You have to do what you have to do at the time. And we were elected for that purpose. We were not elected to make people happy. It's a representative government, and we represent as much to the best of our ability. And sometimes even the people that elect us don't agree with us. But you know what? I'm very proud to be sharing this with our mayors. We've always done what is right in McAllen.
And that was a split vote. You were on my side.
Yes.
That one.
Yes, so that was a tough one. We had a lot of people, but I remember, and I was a brand new commissioner, but I was probably a little scared because I was, but we did it because we knew we had to do it.
And I think that's also one of those factors that sets us apart. We're not afraid to face tough issues head on. What are some of your memories, whoever wants to start the conversation on it, for some of the biggest challenges? I know you talked a little bit about the latest things that we've dealt with, but maybe a challenge that was really hard, whether you feel you won or lost at it. What are some of those memories that pop out?
Well, during my term in 2008, we had the recession, and McAllen had always, enjoyed that escalating, gain. And so for about 5 years, we were flat. So when your revenues are flat and your expenses go up, I mean, you have to do really a good job in maintaining, the best balance. So I think those were difficult times, but there were good times because the city of McAllen was resilient. We were able to adjust to those changing times. But I want to go back to this immigrant situation, because I think it's important for the people that are hearing this, that it's also important for you to get the right information. We were criticized, the county of McAllen, for putting the immigrants in the park. Well, when we found out that the immigrants were coming and they were going to be let loose within, 72 hours, and they were not testing them for COVID, We said, now wait a minute, you can't turn them loose and put them in our airport, put them in our bus stations, and even in our restaurants there without doing that. We want to make sure that we isolate them first until they're cleared. But people thought that we were harboring illegal immigrants, and that was the least thing we were doing. We were really protecting the people here from any potential dangers that any immigrant would come. So I think it's important for the people to absolutely be watchdogs for the things that we do, but get your facts right.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember we, before that, when we were more consolidated in downtown McAllen, when COVID hit, we had couple hotels on the outskirts of McAllen. We put people in and told them you had to stay there, family units, and if you left, we're going to send you back to wherever you came from and all that. And in La Jolla, some lady, her kids went to get one for her.
It was in La Jolla.
And they saw that, and we handled it so well, but that one little incident gets international attention, and you're scurrying. It was kind of, it was a very difficult thing. We got all the press in the world. We're trying to make that as positive we could, but it was very difficult to put a positive spin to what was happening here. But you look at the rest of the country, all the border, within Eagle Pass, El Paso, Hidalgo County and the city of McAllen primarily handled it better than anybody, and still is handling it from that standpoint. You don't hear it. We're not on the news anymore, thank God.
No, actually, we are still sometimes in the national media, but every opportunity we have, we tell them. Our city is one of the safest cities in the country. We, whenever we have the immigration issue, logistically we have it down. And we also know that the immigrants, the ones that asylum seekers come, and we do what we have to do to get them out. They don't want to be here. Okay, now the issue, of course, when we talk about immigration, is the ones crossing outside of the ports of entry, but that we don't deal with. We really don't, so.
And it's been a lot of hardships throughout our history as a city. I'm thinking about the 1970s and the police brutality issues. I know, Jim, you were around for that. Talk to us a little bit about where we've been and how we've overcome some of those experiences.
Well, you know, if you look at our city, I went in front of the grand jury 9 times for the McAllen Police Department. I was designated. But if you look at it, we had a growing city. A lot of our police officers were Vietnam veterans. We were the entertainment center of the valley. And so Friday and Saturday nights were wild, and we had 6 officers on the street on a Friday night handling everybody. And a lot of the guys were Vietnam vets, and so if you wanted to resist arrest, well, let's get at it. And that's what happened. And then in the 70s, they wired all the police departments for sound and audio, video. And so most of our stuff, we had a process where if you arrested somebody, you had to book them. And so on Friday night, you had 15 people waiting to get booked. You arrest this guy. You might have a little tuffle in the parking lot with him. Now you're standing there, and all these guys are saying, "Don't tell him anything." And they had to hold him set. And so almost all the mayhem happened there, but it was nationwide news that we had this police brutality. We had over 40 civil rights cases. I used to go to Brownsville a lot. But I mean, that's something that we had was very unique as a part of our growing city, part of just the situation, and we got over that. But sometimes we hit national news for the wrong reasons. But we're a great city. We don't, we don't get credit for what we do good. We just, news is bad news.
Well, Liz, I want to transition to something that I think everyone that lives in McAllen should be very proud of. McAllen has been a leader. Just go back into history and look at the things McAllen is responsible for. Number one, the bridge. The McAllen Bridge is really what started the international trade and made McAllen really a shopping destination because it was easy for Mexicans to come across. South Texas College, that was also an idea of the city of McAllen. The city of McAllen donated some property. So McAllen, the Foreign Trade Center. So McAllen really has been the leader. I tell people now that I'm county judge that the county is kind of like the mall. We want to recruit people to the mall, but every city has to be responsible to get the customer to their city. But wait a minute, we can't recruit anybody to the mall if we don't have good stores. So McAllen has been the leader for us in the recruiting of economic development issues or whatever. So we're very blessed for the leadership that McAllen has had in the past as well as in the current, because we're going to have to be. It's going to be even more competitive tomorrow when we have to keep that the foot in the pedal, as they say, to to keep progressing and being able to compete in the future.
I think, one of the big things that made McAllen is Mexico and the Mexican trade. Our economy was more dependent on the peso than it was the dollar here. And we've had, in 1990, had a peso devaluation, devastated McAllen. And so, I know the mayor, all of us did a lot in Mexico. You're very popular in Mexico. You say, why are you going down there? Because it's very important to keep that relationship going. Peso is very important. You go to the Plaza Mall or a lot of our merchants.
Well, according to a study, it said that 40% of our sales tax revenues really come from Mexican consumers. Yeah.
And we're battling, good, bad, or indifferent. We're battling publicity from the federal government, with Mexico, trying to make sure that they're welcome, people are welcomed here, and so that's always for every administration. It's been a challenge, making sure that we balance Mexican trade with policy and what's going on in Washington and locally.
And I wonder how long that study is, because I think what we've realized during COVID, when they shut down the bridges where the Mexicans couldn't come, our sales taxes, everything started going down for a little bit. But after a few months, if I remember correctly, about 3 months, they started going up. We realized that we are self-sufficient, that our area, if our people stay here within the valley, and it happened during COVID, we started going up. And then once the bridges opened, you had the Mexican consumers coming back in, we've been better than ever. And our area has just kept on going. I always say COVID was a horrible thing. Post-COVID has been amazing. And look what happened. People realize supply chain issues when there's issues with other countries. The COVID opened up a lot of eyes, and it gave our area one very good opportunity. But when I'm talking about area, the region, including Tamaulipas, Nuevo León, South Texas, including even San Antonio's over here, always trying to talk to us because we have so many things in common. I mean, we are blessed in our area, and I say it as many times as I can, that not necessarily a border area, but an area that's strategically located between two very powerful countries. And I really mean that.
I've always said we're the all-American city that speaks Spanish. The big difference between right on the river and 6 miles from the river, from a standpoint of whether Mexicans want to go to, they want to go to an all-American city, except for me, that speaks Spanish. I try, but I'm not very good at it. But I mean, that's a huge difference. In San Antonio's try to do that, but they don't speak Spanish in San Antonio. We speak Spanish. And people feel comfortable there, but they want to go to an all-American city. I think that's our secret.
Mayor Villalobos, thank you for bringing it up. You're absolutely right. The numbers today are not 40% Mexican stuff. That was back in the day when I was there, and that was a study that was made by a federal agency. But we're still very, very much dependent on them, and many of our jobs are dependent on our trade with Mexico. So that's an important trading partner that we have.
Well, Reynosa, look at this. The city of Reynosa changed because of the city of McAllen. Mm-hmm. When you look at that, I mean, we recruited. I've been to Korea with Mexican economic development people. I think we all have, but that goes way back to McAllen, and when they decided that we're going to go to Mexico.
Well, I'm smiling, Jim, because all Reynosa moved to McAllen.
And some of Monterrey.
So we have a lot of investment from Monterrey, from the area here in McAllen, in the Rio Grande Valley, in South Padre Island. I mean, we enjoy the investment. It really helps out, and we always say we're more than friends. We're neighbors. We're partners. It's a community. It's a region.
Let's talk a little bit about infrastructure and our investments. Some things that stand out for you. You've talked a little bit about the international bridges, but what's on the horizon? What are we seeing and projecting for the next 10 years?
I've always been worried that, we have the MPO and there are highway projects, but even the projects that are proposed right now, the vast majority of the citizens of McAllen don't have access to an interstate or a highway, and they're not going to. As we go north, we go into the northwest and all that, and we have one that goes up and down, and we've grown that way from it. So I'm always, and I'm still concerned. I was with the MPO and all that when we was created, but I'm concerned about getting around in McAllen. We just, and everything we're building is around us.
Well, I think everything has to be built around McAllen because we can't go throughout. But I think a lot of the issue we have, for example, infrastructure, is that if you're from La Jolla, Palmview, you're going to San Antonio, you have to come through I-2 to go to I-69. One of the things I think, 2 years ago, I said, everybody, we need to make sure that we never lose from our mouth when we're talking about the loop. Mm-hmm. We definitely need that. We just met with Senator Nichols, chairman of the Transportation Committee in the Senate and Chairman Canales in the House. And we're talking about that. The potential we have, or what's going to happen once we do that, is going to be amazing. Once we get a loop, you have people go around, go through. The infrastructure is necessary also for example, we're going to hopefully finish Ansaldua's expansion. It's February of 2025. 18-wheelers all over the place. Do we want them going through our community? Not really. They don't want to go through our community. They want to go up. So we need them to go up. There's several things that happen. First, it's a lot safer when you don't have cars and 18-wheelers all mixed up. You want them out. Safety, the destruction of our roadways, of our streets whenever there's too many 18-wheelers. We need them, but we got to be careful. And then at the very end, there's a lot of people that really, really care about the environment. When you move traffic out, you don't have them there just sitting, with the exhaust and everything. And that's something that's very important to a lot of people. Our infrastructure in McAllen it's difficult because we're developed. But if we get that loop, it's really going to help, not just McAllen, it's going to help everybody.
Liz, we're looking into a transit authority. Officially we're the 8th, but I think we're the 7th most populous county in Texas out of 254. And a lot of the people that live here, unfortunately, are living in poverty. And so they only have one vehicle. So if the husband or the breadwinner goes out to work with that car, then you leave the rest of the family, without any transportation. So that we find out that to be a barrier on moving some of these people out of the poverty line and into the taxpayer line. So we're going to be looking into that, and I think that's a very important infrastructure type of program for us to have, because as we continue to grow, we need to get cars and trucks out of the roads, and one of the ways to get trucks and cars out of the road is to have another alternative way for people to move around. And I think we're doing okay north and south. I think we need the east and west corridors more, because we're growing along the border, and I would like to see more investment
East and West
in east and west as a problem.
When Vanna Walker, the county engineer, we hired McAllen, and we were doing right-of-way acquisition for Bicentennial, and so we did a plan to take Bicentennial all the way up to Trenton, and Trenton over to the expressway, so we'd have an inner loop. We even met with some people in Edinburgh, and we took it to McAllen, and they said, well, what do we want to send our people up to Edinburgh for? And we thought, no, let's do that. And you guys weren't on the city council, I don't think. It was been probably in the mid-'80s, late 80s, and they turned it down when the only thing in Edinburgh was a mission on the corner. Wasn't any car lot or anything. Nothing up Bicentennial, and the city commission said nah. But then you had your inner loop, and then you could have done. But east-west is a challenge, because most of our east-west are state roads, and are not state roads, I say, and they're more expensive, obviously.
And then the other thing that economic development people are telling me is rail service. It's a lot easier and less deaths in the highway, etc., when you move goods and products through a rail system. I think that's hurting us in trying some of our economic development endeavors, because we really need that. So I think we need to look at both of those things, the transit authority and rail service, for us to be more competitive.
I think when they planned the interchange there, 281 and all that, they didn't realize we have more truck traffic. San Antonio, almost all the interchanges are one lane. Now they're building one at 10, it's 2 lane. But you get one truck going up that ramp, and it sends back traffic for miles and miles, and you got thousands of trucks coming north every day.
And we paid an engineer to study that, Jim.
Yeah. Wow. So now we're building the outer. If we wouldn't have spent the $105 million on the outer road, what they're doing now, and leave what we had there alone, we could have had that finished and have solved that problem.
Yeah, but the only way I think we're going to start solving some of the issues, and I think that's what McAllen's getting into now, is kind of forgetting about the old ways we used to think about, residential, commercial, because that does not lend itself to a good transit system. I think if we start, and this is what we're trying to look at McAllen now, more mixed use, where you have a combination of commercial, residential, where people are in different clusters. That's how you can get them into buses, into rail, into different things. But if we keep on doing it, that's what we're pushing otherwise, where you just have residential, and then you have to get in your vehicle to get a loaf of bread, to go buy a dozen of eggs, no matter what. we're always going to be like that. And then traffic just keeps on getting more congested. We got to modernize.
Let's see if we can get some information from the current mayor here. I noticed that you took all the water out of Boyer Reservoir. Is there something you want to tell us, Mayor, or not
yes.
yet?
Well, there's something. We just thought we could use that water elsewhere. So
It was bad it's a bad time. I'm chairman of Regional Water Planning Group. People come, McAllen water reservoir's out of water. We're out of water, panicking.
no. Of course, we can't
Straight.
we can't get much into it. But I think there's no secret. I think when you were mayor, there was always this dream about developing the reservoir. So the first step is always going to be we have to drain it. And people think you just drain, you pull out the water, and that's it. No, actually, it takes a lot more.
Let them know we have another reservoir.
Oh yeah, yes, we have one already. It was already
South.
ready before south of that.
So
So
south
that reservoir,
south of the airport.
that reservoir was not
And
needed
I
anymore.
wanted to get more information on that, but,
And that was-
but I respect that.
And
I
that is
respect that.
prime land. That is prime land. Once we dry it up, fill it up and everything. There's different plans we're looking at, but that is prime land here in the city of McAllen. There's been different things that we've considered, and I think in a few years, our residents, our citizens in McAllen, actually the whole Rio Grande Valley is going to be very happy we did what we did.
The other exciting thing that I want, the mayor or someone to talk about, Quinta Mazatlan. I think that's going to be an iconic landmark for the whole area, and McAllen should be extremely proud of that.
Judge,
facility.
thank you to the administrations, the previous administrations.
Well, let me give credit where credit is due. Leo Montalvo was
And
the
John
one
Schrack.
that bought it.
John Schrack and Leo had
Yeah.
X amount of dollars, and there was a certain heart surgeon who was outbidding us, and they said, we're going to get it anyways, and came back to City Commission and said, you guys spent more than $100,000 you authorized, so what are you going to do with that?
Well,
that was a great gift.
Mayor Montalvo, thank
let's
you
tell
so
this-
much.
Tell you the story because you were there. They really were authorized to pay only this.
Yes, they paid more.
And they didn't pay that, and they came and asked for forgiveness after.
At $100,000, as a matter of fact.
They asked for forgiveness instead of permission.
Just think that if they hadn't done that, it would have been.
And I'm glad they did.
Can you imagine? Like, we wouldn't have what's going on right now. We have a project, what is it? If I remember correctly, 53 million?
Yeah.
It's going to be a beautiful project, what's going on. And of course, I do need to thank everybody. And, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm the mayor. But no, I know what happened. Judge Cortez was there, Mayor Darling was there, the whole previous commissioners, and of course the Friends of Quinta Mazatlan. It has been, it has been amazing what's happened. From La Mantilla to Girling to different people just working together. Not South Texas College. Well, everybody has, but UTRGV at the very end. I said it when we had the groundbreaking that at the very end we needed more funding, and Guy Bailey seemed like he was riding on a horse, his hair going back, and the only thing I was thinking about is hair flying back. I'm like, but in reality, something like that happened at the very end. It really helped out. So we are very fortunate. We have a lot of people, McAllen ISD, everybody kind of pitching in little by little or a little bit, and we're going to do it. And it's going to be an amazing project, Center for Urban Ecology.
Wow. I'd like to hear listening to you. The difference in McAllen is we've all been mayors. When you get in, you make it better. You don't go in and fire anybody as a mayor. And you can fire to get the city manager fired. We can't fire the department, but that doesn't matter. You tell the city manager, but that never happens. When the new mayors come in, you take what you had and you try to make it better. And usually it's given to you very coordinated. There's coordination, etc. Staff doesn't worry about their jobs with the new elected officials. That really if you look around us, you see all the staff moving around after elections. They go to different jobs, but I think the continuity of what we have, we all work together. All of us had experience as city commissioners, and I think that makes a big difference. It gives you ready to be a mayor. If you've been on a city commission 6-8 years, you know how it is. You know staff better, and it just if anybody asks, it's not so much. It's a process. I mean, you're a great mayor, but really, it's a process that makes it easy to be very constructive.
It's the team. It's always a team effort.
So talk to me a little bit about your relationship with your city manager and how that's come into the equation for success.
Well, when you look at it, we've had I was a little different. I had a city manager who had been there for a long time and left within the first 2 years I was there, so it's a little different from that. Otherwise, we've always had, city managers never worried about their job if they're doing their job.
Well, I'll tell you the experience that I had. I scared the heck out of Mike Bettis, because as an accountant, I asked Mike, said, Mike, what would the tax be if I want to borrow $100 million? He almost had a heart attack. You know, we didn't know any money there, and it was a wrong way for me to communicate with him. I should have prepared them for the question that I asked him. So it's a little adjustment. We adjusted to one another. We have personalities. We have modes of operation or whatever. But we were very, very fortunate, you know, to have the type of city managers that we've had in McAllen. But for me to go back, and if I were to have started differently, communication is everything. Mm-hmm. Because if they don't know, if he didn't know why I was asking the question, to me, I wasn't going to borrow $100 million. I'm doing a stress analysis in the event that I wanted to do everything at the same time. What would be the financial stress? So it was really just to make a mental, calculation in my mind what to do, because you can't manage almost $100 million. Mm-hmm. You know, someone said, "Hey, why don't you fix drainage?" Well, we're fixing drainage. We just can't do it all together because we can't manage all the projects at the same time.
Yeah,
we've been good. Actually, I've only had one city manager, and that's Roy. But I remember when I was running for mayor, I sat down with him and asked him, "Roy, what are you doing? What's your plan?" And he looked at me and kind of suspiciously, "Why, Mayor?" Well, I wasn't going to get rid of anybody. I just wanted to know. I said, "Because I love stability. I need you to be here." And I had heard that, hey, he was thinking maybe about leaving. We need stability. We need good people. And I remember he said, "Well, Mayor, then I'll be here." I don't know if he said, "till you need me," or whatever it was. But that was peace of mind for him. And I think it was probably more peace of mind for me. And, you know, the relationship with the city manager and the city attorney, to me, that relationship is so important. The city attorney, when I'm city attorney in different cities, the city attorney and the city manager have to jive. They have to understand what's going on. And of course, especially here in McAllen, the mayor needs to know what's going on at all times. And we're fortunate that that's what we have. We get the updates, we get this, we get the calls. And if I ever need something, I don't call him. I just type in Roy and he knows to call. I type in Ike, he knows to call. And we find out what's going on and any questions. But you know what? One of the things that I love is that we don't get involved. Mm-hmm. I don't get involved in the everyday activities. When some of the new commissioners have come in, when I've been mayors, I've told them, hey, here in McAllen, we don't hire personnel. We don't we don't give directive. We don't do any of that stuff. And I'm very grateful that everybody has been very respectful of that. And I think that's why our city is the greatest city here.
Yeah. And then, of course, I was city attorney with Mike, city manager, for 10 years, so there were no surprises at all. And then when he left, Roy was there. I knew from the utility board, so I worked closely with Roy because I was also the attorney for the utility board. So it was a very smooth transition from that standpoint, from going over there.
But I think what helps us and what helps us in those relationships, McAllen has very good systems. Mm-hmm. And they have very good internal control systems, very good operational systems. So that kind of keeps everybody within a certain parameter. It's difficult for someone to get out of those parameters because of the systems that McAllen has developed over the years.
We have
they can get out, but they get fired.
So we have an audit committee that the city commission serves on, so they really deep down in it, and then they're on the all the different boards city commission serve on. So.
Let's talk about that for just a moment. Let's talk about that because I think the people need to know. We sit down and says, okay, what risks do we have? So we want to pay attention to where the biggest risk. Well, one was of course the bridge because we collect cash. So okay. Yeah. So we put a counter, okay, because so the cars would pass. We put the counters. Well, they would come over and take let me have one of the magazines. They would take a steel plate and put it over the counter. Okay. So how do you deal with all those things? Well, then we had a combination of the counter, the cameras, and things like that, and that's what the Audit Investment Committee does, and it does an amazing good job.
Be careful. We had people that worked there that wouldn't cash their checks for 3 or 4 months.
Oh, wow.
And it's still all cash, by the way. I shouldn't say this, but
So what does that tell
the
you?
bridge's still all cash, but there's millions and millions of dollars being collected cash. And back then it was still millions, not as many millions as now. And so, you know, internal controls were really important.
I'll
So
tell you another one. Somebody would come in here and say, hey, I need 20 gallons to go mow the grass in this field over there. 20 gallons, you know? So they would keep track as to how much gasoline it would take for those mowers or whatever. And then when you went to cut that grass, I mean, you were only allocated that number of gallons. Who does that? McAllen does.
And
yeah,
you
we have
talked
really good,
about-
strong controls. So,
Yeah, absolutely. You've talked about infrastructure so much, and I know that a lot of these infrastructure projects were funded through referendum with the house and sales tax. And we can't talk about those projects without our past leaders. I'm thinking of former Mayor Leo Montalvo and even former Mayor Otto Brand.
That was a tough thing. It took three elections or 4 elections, I can't remember, to get the sales tax passed. And we had a lot of opposition from the low-income community representatives.
What year was that, Mayor?
1999?
Yeah,
Around there.
yeah,
I just gotten here.
yeah.
Yeah, because in 2000 we built the bus terminal.
Yeah, and it was very, that was a
was one of
tough
the first
election. It
projects.
failed, I think, 2 times and finally got through. And so we made some concessions about going in. If we did it, we were going to do it this way. And so some money was set aside for low-income communities. I mean, still have the most successful low-income housing program in the country. I remember going up and we got an award, and second place was Delaware got an award, and they built 35 houses. I said, I would have got fired for 35 houses. We built 175 that year, you know, and so, you know, and a lot of that city money poured back into the system, and now they're standalone, very, very, very successful.
Well, you know, one of our mayors for 20 years with Otto Brand, I think that, you know, he did a marvelous job while he was here. He built McAllen from the bottom up. He was really an infrastructure guy. He wanted to make sure that our drainage, our roads, and all the infrastructure was in place. He also was a very visionary. He was the one that taught about the college. I think that was important.
Yeah.
He knew that we needed an economic development arm for the city if we're going to be competitive. So I think the leadership that came from him and Leo. Well, Leo, you know, was right next to him for many, many years, and they continued with that philosophy. And Leo was a very good steward during the time that he was here. He was a very good steward of all of the things that McAllen was involved in moving in.
I remember he didn't like we were doing economic development. And we talked to McAllen about going to Mexico, and that was the existing one didn't want to do it. And so he said to me, he said, I don't want to do this politically. You know, how can we do it? I said, well, we fund them 100%. We do the budget. Don't fund them next year. We'll create a new corporation and fund them. He said, oh, that's easy to do. And that's what we did. And then we did the same thing on economic development, same thing on, I can't think what the other one is, but, housing. He wanted to build more houses. We were doing rehab. And he said, I don't want to rehab a house that has 2 bedrooms and 10 kids. And we tried doing it, and we got in trouble with the federal government. But we made up how we were going to make new rooms without. But then he said, how we do it? And I thought, remember we did this other one, so we defunded the one, created a new one, and created the best housing program through the people we hired in the country. And it's still that way today.
And Mayor Villalobos, I know you talked a little bit about the importance of Quinta, and that's been a really dynamic project. Definitely there's a big role that small business plays. Talk to us a little bit about what the Chamber's role is in the community, how small business and the Chamber are part of your equation for success.
Actually, I've always said it, small business is the backbone of it really is. If you look at Nolana, 23rd, Trenton, all the areas, you have hundreds and hundreds of small businesses. And even though we're always trying to attract, the big companies, the manufacturing, whatever it is, we know that the heartbeat is always going to be the small business. So we try to help out wherever we can. We have our small business. I think Rebecca takes care of some of those issues, but we're always trying to promote. We know, we understand. We have different projects or different things that we do to help out. And unfortunately, sometimes I feel like they don't ask for the help we're trying to give, including even, what's it called, the storefront.
Yes, the lift fund.
The lift funds and different type of deals. Well, one of the things that they have been utilizing is we have the matching fund for the storefronts. I think it's 15,000. I'm thinking like it's way too low. The cost right now, even if we match 15,000, that's 30,000. You can't do much than 30,000 to update, to beautify a storefront. So I think we've met a couple of times. We're going to pick that up. But you know what? At the very end, I mean, small business in McAllen is crucial. It's crucial. We love our Simon properties, our mall. We love everything around. Well, think about it. Convention center. We have some chain restaurant stores and everything, but a lot of it is still locally owned, small business. So we always, I think they've in the past have supported small business, and right now, as we stand, we always will.
I think an important part, I was just thinking, we're talking about Mayor Brand, he was a visionary, and he was there 20 years. And I think we kind of learned from that too, is because, you know, you can be a visionary and stay 20 years, but you're not handing it off to anybody. You're not developing the infrastructure of leadership that you need to do. And I think, I don't know about you, I'm not going to speak for you, Mayor, but I think, you know, Mayor Montalvo saw that, 8 years, said, I can do what I need to do, I can provide the leadership in 8 years, and that's it. Mayor Cortez, 8 years, right? And then, you know, that's enough. I thought there's a couple of things, but no, 8 years is good. You know,
it is very difficult being mayor. As a matter of fact, I know sometimes there's rumors about different people wanting to go, and I tell people now, if you want to be mayor, make sure first of all that you have the time. One, that you want to serve, and that you're financially secure. Yeah. Because I think for example, Jim was already retired.
I retired the second year as mayor. I couldn't do both jobs, and so I thought, okay, I can do the $50 a month job or the other job.
It is difficult. I have 3 kids in college right now.
Tell all the commissioners that the mayor gets paid 5 times what the commissioner gets paid. Commissioner gets paid
$50 a month.
$10, we get $50.
Yay!
I know we're running out of time, and so I just want to ask one last question. The Chamber next year celebrates 100 years.
Wow.
What's the importance of the Chamber, and any consejos or advice that you can give us?
We all know that our chamber is the best all around. And I don't care if Mission, Edinburgh, anybody's listening to us, and I hope they are. Ours is the best. And, you know, they've always been very instrumental in our area. I think the city, the chamber work hand in hand. And as far as I've been around, it is such a good partnership. So, you know, we need to keep on working. I know we fund and we'll keep on funding because we see the returns and the different events and what the chamber does. We'll keep on doing it. I mean, my experience has been great. I'm sure that the mayors...
We're more regulatory. The city's regulatory by nature. So the chamber is what we support the chamber because they're out there helping every day and all that. Not that the city doesn't, but we're more regulatory. I think the chambers is, I mean, you see the chamber, city, we're all like this. And I think when people deal with the chamber, they're dealing with the city of McAllen too.
And when we talk about the chamber, we also talk about our ambassadors that are out there everywhere supporting our community, ribbon cuttings, everything. I love my ambassadors. I mean, it's amazing.
Liz, I would offer this advice. First of all, and you may already have it, a calendar is very important. We want to have a calendar that every week there's something going on in McAllen, that if somebody comes to visit McAllen, we have enough activities going on to blend in the shopping experience with other experience. I think the chamber should take that on. The second thing that I would ask is for information. How do we balance the need of private businesses with government to make it better for both? The more success businesses have, the more success we have as a government. So I think we need to communicate with that, which I think is extremely important. You know, we've asked you to do one thing for us in this Prosperity Task Force, and that is to help us, you know, connect the people looking for work with the people that need workers. And I think chambers will do a very good job in having your chamber members and everybody, other chambers, to say, hey, I'm looking for somebody. So that'll be a source of us knowing who's looking for workers, so we can we can blend. Those would be the things that I would ask you to do for us.
Well, thank you all so much for being here with me this afternoon and for all that you have done to lead in our community. Your efforts are not unnoticed, and the Chamber wishes to celebrate you for your leadership and for all you have done. Muchas gracias, and thank you for joining us today.